With commentary and analysis on our hometown teams, this is the Bucky and Sully Show. Presented by Dave's Christmas Wonderland. 2 locations, Union Road, Cheektowaga, and Transit Road, Williamsville. Now, from the WBBZ-TV studio, here are Buffalo News sports columnists Bucky Gleason and Jerry Sullivan.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Bucky and Sully Show. I'm Bucky Gleason. I'm here with Jerry Sullivan, of course. Just to let you know, we are going to have UB men's basketball coach Bobby Hurley coming on in the second segment. He'll be calling us from Ohio, where UB is getting ready to play Kent State Saturday night. So we're going to check in with Bobby, see how the season's going, get some of his points or his views coming into the MAC tournament, Sully. It's going to be interesting. First order of business today, though, of course, is we have the NHL Trade Deadline coming up Monday. And boy, you must be up all night trying to break this stuff down.
I don't know how I paid attention to that Cavaliers-Warriors game the other night with the idea of the NHL trade deadline in the back of my mind. But what do you think? They need to get some people out of here. They're starting to scare the tanking crowd, Bucky. I mean, Neuvirth might just get him into 27th place the way he's playing. Yeah,
I mean, he played well again last night. They took down a Vancouver team. They were at the end of a 5-game road swing. Eastern road swing, and they really kind of checked out, it seemed, shortly after the face-off, so after opening face-off. And it was not a good game by Vancouver at all, but Sabres played well enough. They scored 6 goals, so it's a juggernaut, Sully, over there.
Was that their equipment manager in goal? I mean, because I know teams, some of them are down to the 3rd goalie against the Sabres. They'll
You're
throw
talking about Eddie Lack. Eddie Lack, Sully.
I'll say Lack.
Eddie Lack, I'll have you know, he's actually played pretty well in place of Ryan Miller, who's out with a sprained knee. And they had Adam Glendening was in town, and I did a column on him, so make sure you check that out. What is Murray going to do? It's going to be interesting. And look, I was looking at it for a blog at buffalonews.com. You can read it. It is just as tricky for Tim Murray as it is for any coach who is trying to get his team over the hump and into contention for a title here. And the reason is, if you start dumping players that have helped you lose, they have to be replaced with players. And the players that you're going to be getting back they're going to be prospects or they're going to be draft picks, but somebody has to take the place on the roster for Chris Stewart or Torrey Mitchell or Neuvirth. And those guys are not going to be tanking. They're going to come in here with something to prove. Now, the Sabres have done a fantastic job of losing with Stewart, Mitchell, and Neuvirth in the lineup. So that is kind of like the devil that they know. What they don't know, what Tim Murray doesn't know, Sully, is what the response is going to be when those guys walk out. There's a little bit of a vacuum there, and the new players come in.
You think how confusing it is for these guys. They're coming in, they're motivated, they want to show the general manager they belong in the league, and they're thinking, well, maybe he wants me to not win, so what am I supposed to do here? Well, he can always do like he sent Pezic back down. I mean, what is that? I mean, that's pretty transparent. Don't tell me because he needs to showcase his other defensemen. That's a joke. That's a crime.
He's playing so well, Pezic, that's what it costs him.
He's dangerous.
He gets sent back to Rochester, and I'll tell you what, he made a big difference when he was here. He's a good player. And, you know, he spent the whole year in Rochester, could have been in Buffalo, probably should have been in Buffalo. He's a nice player, and that's somebody that if you're a Sabres fan, you're optimistic watching that kid play. But that's kind of what you're dealing with. Now, you come in, say they trade, if they keep Neuvirth is playing as well as he can right now on a bad team, and he has made a huge difference already, you know, in the last few games. Just him. They're catching this guy in a hot streak, and he's won a few games. Do you really think that if they move him out, that the next goalie is going to allow goals? I mean, goaltenders by nature, they're not wired up that way. They don't care about Connor McDavid. So you run into a hot goaltender and you get some of these other young kids, or you have to call up a young kid from Rochester, Sully, and these kids start playing and playing hard. Tim Murray's whole tank strategy could backfire on him. That's the point of the whole thing. And if this team, you imagine if this thing finishes 28th, this team?
There's going to be an uprising among the fans. A lot of people are out there, you know, buying tickets thinking they're going to get McEichel, one of those two guys. And if they don't, they're going to be disappointed. But when guys like Pezic are playing well, am I pronouncing his name right?
Yes.
That's even more reason for these people to be, you know, excited. That guy looks like he's going to be a solid, you know, top 4D anyway, going into the future. They've got the other two guys. There's a lot of good things going on here. It'd be interesting to see without McDavid or Eichel how good this team could be 5-6 years down the road.
If they make enough moves, McDavid and or Eichel will be part of the equation. A big part of the equation, but just part of the equation. You know, I've gotten so sick and tired of trying to explain to people that Sidney Crosby, for as great as he is, had a ton of help in Pittsburgh. And he's won 1 Stanley Cup in his time in the league, Sully. And that's with Malkin. That's with Fleury. That's with, Brooks Orpik, he spent so many years there. I mean, you could go, that's with Jordan Staal before he got traded. They had great, great players for a long time. And they won 1 Stanley Cup. So you say, okay, well, you're talking about a franchise player, a generational player. Is Alex Ovechkin? Is he a generational player? I'd say so. How many titles has he won? He's won 0. And that's because he's one part of a team. Look, if you're a really, really good player, you come in here and you're Connor McDavid, you're going to play 20 minutes a night. That means you're not going to be playing for 40 minutes. So you're going to need far more than him on your team if you think you're going to have all your problems solved.
And by the way, who's going to play goalie for them next year? You think they might be thinking of getting either Neuvirth or Neuvirth back, assuming he goes too? Because Neuvirth looks like a guy you might be able to win with. They're going to want to win next year and the year after. What's their plan for the goaltending position? Is it someone in their system? Is he going to be? Is he going to be as good as this guy? He's saving 95%. Even if he drops off, he was seen back in the day as, first line goalie for Washington. I mean, he could be that here.
Yeah.
Why is it just so? Hey, we'll move him out of here.
Sure.
I don't know if they've tried to sign him or not, but they've got to get somebody in here that can help them win next year. And if you really believe it, I don't, that they can be a 75, 80 point team next year. And that's not good enough anyway.
And I don't know what the plan is for goal. But the flip side of this whole trade thing, Sully, is that they also can't keep him. I mean, I guess they could sign him and sign him to an extension and keep him that way. But if you let Stewart, Michal, and Neuvirth become unrestricted free agents and you don't get something back for him, then you're just as bad as Darcy Regier. In my opinion, you should be fired for that. I mean, that's more irresponsible than getting the wrong guys in here. At least if you trade these guys and you get something in return, they're assets of some form. Now, you're talking about mid-level prospects and mid-level picks. You're not going to get much, but there's something, which is better than nothing. So it makes for an interesting case because you have to have so many guys in the game. You have to have so many guys on the roster, and in order for them to do this, they're gonna have to end up promoting or adding a hungry player who has something to prove. There you go. All right, real quick, Patrick Kane suffered a devastating injury. 3 months he's out, Sully. This guy was on the verge of winning the Hart Trophy. He was having that good of a season. And now the Blackhawks are out. It was a rough week for Chicago, rough day for Chicago, by the way.
With Derrick Rose, and he was going to become perhaps the first American-born player to win the scoring title. And in fact was on pace to do it with under 90 points, which hasn't happened in a full season since 1968, by the way. So what's happened to scoring in the NHL?
Well, all these games look the same, right? I mean, they're going to have to go back and address this issue yet again. But hopefully Patrick Kane will get back. I want to see the Blackhawks continue to play on and go deep into the playoffs and give this kid, a chance to come back and finish off this season and give them a little boost in the playoffs.
Without him, they're not going to get there without him. If he's got 3 months, they're done.
It's going to be tough. All right, Sully, we need to take a break. When we come back, we're going to have Bobby Hurley here on the Bucky and Sully Show.